The contrast could not be more clear between a candidate. Every law enforcement agency is telling you Kamala Harris is bad news. And we know that Josh Shapiro in particular was attacked mercilessly from the far left for being Jewish, for not being anti-Israel enough. And of course, he ran away from his own positions. But the fact that you're letting anti-Semites within the Democrat Party drive so much of the conversation and so much of the decision making for Kamala Harris is a really worrying sign, Sean. You have to ask yourself, who does Kamala Harris answer to? Does she answer to the American people, or does she answer to the far left of her own party?
After a rocky launch, we thought a sampling of Republican vice presidential candidate J.D. Vance on the stump and on the talk shows was in order. Panel Harris Walz versus Trump Vance. The field is set, so what's your point, Holly?
Well, sweepstakes, don't always matter all that much, but it is really curious as to why the Harris campaign did not select Shapiro. You had 19 electoral votes on the table. There are a lot of questions about that in an important swing state. Walz, I have to disagree with my good friend Sergio here. I don't think he's going to bring over a lot of Republicans. Yes, he's a very likable person. I'm one of those people that really advocates for discussing policy. And when you look at Walz's history in the state of Minnesota, you're looking at a state that has among some of the highest tax rates in the nation for corporate taxes, individual income taxes. They have a death tax. They have a spending problem. They're looking at a deficit of about $1.5 billion next year. And are these the policies that we want to extrapolate to use nationally? Now, what the Harris administration may be trying to do is to persuade some of those undecided voters. That number has shrunk. The most recent polling indicates there's only about 15% of the electorate now that's undecided. So why they made this choice is really kind of puzzling. Is it to cater to, some of these guys who feel disenfranchised by the direction of the Democratic Party? We don't know. But I think at the end of the day, it's really going to be, what does Harris stand for? What does Donald Trump stand for in as far as policy goes?
Sergio, I heard Walz say, what some people define as socialism, we just define as being a good neighbor. I don't know if everybody's going to buy that.
Well, that's a mudslinging start. I mean, once it was announced that Tim Walz was going to be the VP pick, I knew this was going to happen. They're going to start digging up and mudslinging and all of this. But Tim Walz, he's a veteran politician. He's also worked in high school, so he has a tough skin. So he's going to be able to deflect a lot of these nonsense. You're talking about the contrast. Folks really care about is what's at the coffee table, how they spend their money for the average American. At the end, they're going to say hate mongers or love and joy. I think they're going with love and joy.
All right, Charles. Governor Abbott was...
Love and joy. It's a economic policy.
Governor Abbott, you heard Wesley Hunt. They're saying, Donald Trump, you better get your eye on the ball because they've got some momentum here.
I mean, yeah, they definitely should and shouldn't take this lightly. I mean, it was a different race when it was President Biden who was running, and I think it was very clear you had a stark difference, a president who could not really even conduct himself as president anymore, let alone run a very active campaign. And now you have someone who's younger, who pulled someone else in, who is semi-popular, I guess. And so it is a different race, and he doesn't need to take it seriously. But I think it's funny you say veteran politician, because one of the questions about Walz is his veteran status and what he did when he was serving, and whether or not some of the stuff that he has claimed to do in service is accurate, or is it stolen valor. And I think that's been something that's been in the news a lot this past week, and that goes to credibility for the campaign, and it goes to question their vetting status and how good they did when they were picking him.
Bill, it's no secret that most moderates and independents don't like either one of these choices. Has the Harris ticket become more palatable?
Well, the polling certainly indicates that. I mean, there's been a dramatic shift in the polling in the last couple of weeks here. I think what a lot of independents are sort of looking at this is saying, okay, look, I don't really like Kamala and I don't like a lot of her policies, but it's kind of the devil I know versus Trump, who just increasingly is going off the reservation. I mean, he's now saying he's going to round up and deport every single illegal alien in the United States. That is complete BS. Look, you can't go just pick up somebody and move them out of the country. They've got to go through the court system. It's already backed up for 5 or 6 years. And when he says stuff like that, independents think, go like, wait a minute, is this guy losing it,
Yes.
To be continued. Up